Story 1. I absolutely refuse to lie about a death in the family or a serious illness, such as to get out of work or something similar. All I can think is, whatever I lie about, I am definitely bringing into existence. Story 2. I do not believe in ghosts, but the previous owner of our home passed away here. We had to remove the carpet because of stains. Every time I go into the loft, I say, "Don't mind me, Carol, just coming up to get something, and see you later, Carol." As I head back down, I have no idea why, but I guess I do not want a strong woman haunting us because I am impolite. Story 3. The first thing that comes to mind is wishing on the first star of the night, which makes your wish come true by morning light. Other than that, there is the superstition that misfortune comes in three. I know that it is just an old wives' tale, but I still find myself counting misfortunes and giving a big sigh of relief once the third one has happened. Story 4. Every time I leave the house, I whisper "stay safe" to the photo of my brother who passed away. Part of me still believes he is watching and maybe, somehow, he is keeping me safe now. Story 5. Saying a prayer to Saint Anthony if I lose something. Not stepping on books out of respect for the wisdom they contain. Story 6. I work in the emergency room. Within the walls of the hospital, you never utter the words slow or quiet. We will even admonish patients and visitors for saying them. Story 7. My grandmother taught me to greet every magpie I encounter. This way, they would never steal from me and maybe one day bring me something if I am lucky. My grandmother passed away 2 decades ago. I still do it conscientiously. Some months ago, my 9-year-old son also started to do it. My grandmother lives on. Story 8. Our family is quite outdoorsy, and we sometimes gift each other knives. However, we always ask for a bit of money in return so it becomes a trade. You do not gift knives. It cuts the friendship. Story 9. I'm from Ireland. I don't believe in ghosts, afterlife, religion, magic, or many superstitions or rituals. The one thing I do know is, do not mess with fairies. Story 10. Never cook or eat chicken on New Year's Day. Pork or beef will bring a year of being fat and happy. Chicken will have you struggling to make ends meet all year. Sing while stitching a baby quilt so they hear it in their dreams. It is beneficial to sing murder ballads so they heed the warning in life. Story 11. I always carry the John F. Kennedy $50 that my grandmother gave me when they were first minted in 1964 when I was 12. It makes me feel like she is guiding and protecting me. Story 12. Holding my breath when passing a cemetery. I have done it since I was a child. No idea why, but I still do it. Respect, I suppose. Story 13. I do not open or allow anyone under the same roof as me to open an umbrella indoors. The only time it happened, a friend of mine did it the night before our first summer holiday. We had a number of unfortunate adventures in the following months. Story 14. My wife and I have become very suspicious when talking about our toddler's sleep. Whenever we say anything positive, she experiences a regression, I swear. We are not suspicious people at all, but parenting will make you believe. Story 15. I always cup my cigarette lighter when I light my smoke, just in case there are any German snipers in the opposite trench. Story 16. Knocking on wood. I know it is silly, but if I say something positive or hopeful, I have to knock on wood right after or it feels like I just cursed it. Story 17. Back in high school, a hockey teammate found one of those friendship bracelets on the floor of our dressing room. Somehow, I got it and made a joke of wrapping it around my right pinky. I forgot I had it when it was time to go on the ice and I scored a hat trick. From that point on, I had to have that bracelet on my pinky. Story 18. I always make a wish if I catch the clock at 11:11. Always. I also send positive vibes into the universe anytime I hear or see emergency vehicles. This came from a mother who prayed each time, but I cannot bring myself to do that. So vibes it is. Story 19. Looking for meaningful connections everywhere to see if I am on the right path in life. While some things might be coincidences, some seem too perfect and happen too often to be pure coincidence. Story 20. Feeding ravens. I am a truck driver, and when I drive on the road and see ravens, I toss beef treats to them. I'm not sure where I picked this up, but they seem like guardians. Yeah, it's weird. Story 21. If I spill salt, I throw a little of it over my left shoulder. Until this prompted me to look it up, I had no idea why I was doing it. Turns out the devil has been standing there all this time. Story 22. My mother was somewhat superstitious. She felt very strongly that when expecting a baby, you absolutely must not set up the crib before the baby is born. She and my father did that before they had their first child, and he was stillborn. She also claimed to have dreamed that she heard a baby crying while she was pregnant. If I had had a similar dream while pregnant, I certainly would not have told my mother. Story 23. Making a wish before blowing out the candles on my birthday cake. I always take it seriously and even pause to say the words to myself before proceeding. Respect the power of the candles. Story 24. I tap the top of soda cans 3 times before I open them. I started doing this in 7th grade and have never stopped. Story 25. Ask any doctor about saying the forbidden Q word during your shift. You never say things are quiet or all hell breaks loose and you are suddenly drowning in chaos. From personal experience, it is absolutely true. Story 26. I give a kiss to my daughter every time I buckle her in her car seat and tell her I love her. Even if we go to 10 different stores, I need to do it. Otherwise, I am afraid we will have a car accident or positional asphyxiation when she was a baby. It started when she was tiny. I figured that I cannot control what happens on the road, but I would never forgive myself if something happened and my daughter did not know she was loved and I did not have one last kiss. Story 27. Never let a loved one leave the home without telling them you love them, and never let them off the phone without saying it once. Story 28. In Filipino but living in a Western country now, whenever I walk through the woods or a forest, I always say, tabi tabi pa, which means, excuse me or please step aside. It is a sign of respect for unseen spirits or supernatural beings that may inhabit those places. Story 29. Do not leave shoes face down. Do not put shoes on the table or counter. That is what you do with someone's shoes when they die. Story 30. Never go into a bog. If you find any unusual ritual items in the woods or forest, do not touch them. Story 31. Salute a single magpie and say the rhyme. Never pass anyone on the stairs. No new shoes on a table. I am ridiculously superstitious. Story 32. I do not have anything near my front or back door that says welcome, because I believe it invites negative spirits and entities as well as other unwanted house guests. Story 33. I am an atheist but still recite Hail Mary, full of grace. Please let me find a parking space when I really need one. Story 34. Whenever I drove for more than an hour or so and made it back home, I patted my car on the back and thanked it for not breaking down. So far, it never has. Story 35. I am not religious or superstitious, but I throw salt over my left shoulder when I spill some. I also find myself making the sign of the cross in moments of distress. Story 36. I'm a little superstitious due to my upbringing. I believe things come in threes. So far, they have. In the space of a year, my uncle died, my dog died, and my grandfather died. I called it after my uncle passed first. At that point, my dog was senior but otherwise healthy, and my grandfather was mildly disabled but otherwise stable. I don't walk under ladders. If I say something is going well, I say touch wood, and touch something made of wood. I won't put a pair of new shoes on a table. Story 37. Putting salt over my boys' heads if they are restless before bed. Grandma told me there were too many eyes around them that day. As soon as I do the salt, they immediately calm. My sister thinks I am a gypsy. Could be a coincidence, but it has worked for 4 years for both my children. Why stop it? Story 38. Oh parking gods, please be kind, a parking space that I may find. I have as many rules about when and how to say it as I do about setting the timer on the microwave. Story 39. I still hold my breath when driving past a cemetery. I started doing it as a kid because someone told me that if you do not, the spirits might try to get in your body. I am an adult now, and I know it is nonsense, but every single time I pass one, I think, not today, ghost. Story 40. I still blow eyelashes off my thumb to make wishes, and I still knock on wood if I feel like I have jinxed myself. Story 41. My dad and I have specific spots we have to sit in the living room while watching Boston playoff games. It started with the first New England Patriots Super Bowl and just kept going. I was over a friend's house in 2003 for the Aaron Boone game, and we still blame that on me not being home. But we have still kept up the tradition as much as we can more than 20 years later. Story 42. When the Capitals are in a slump, I flip my Capitals hockey puck over. That single-handedly won us the Stanley Cup in 2018, but it has to be used wisely. Story 43. Tapping the top of the soda can 3 times prevents it from overflowing or exploding. I have been doing this since I was a child. Story 44. Lots of little things I was raised with that I don't even think about. Splitting curses, like if someone says, "If it rains tomorrow, I'll die," you make a little peace sign with your fingers but point it at them. Also, I don't pick up pennies that are tails up. Story 45. I don't put my debit card upside down in my wallet in case the money leaks out. It's silly, and I'm not normally superstitious, but somehow this got in my mind. Story 46. Look, I am not a very religious person, but I did have a very religious upbringing. As a result, when I got a new car, my mother placed a picture of Jesus on the visor where you would put a toll ticket. About an hour after the picture was placed, I narrowly avoided a severe car accident. Years later, my roommate borrowed my car to go to the grocery store, saw the picture of Jesus, and brought it inside to ask me about it. While the picture was out of the car for about 20 minutes, someone dinged my car with their door. That picture of Jesus no longer leaves my car, and I am convinced that Jesus is somehow protecting my car through this small picture. I also avoid going to Syracuse, New York. Every time I have passed through there, something bad has happened to me a few days later. Once, I got sick 2 days after passing through. Another time, my credit card number was stolen. I lost my keys after passing through once, and after another visit, I received very bad news the following day. Recently, after stopping there, I rolled my ankle 2 days later. Story 47. I have a spider on my porch. Her name is Porch Spider. I tell her, "Bye, have a good day," every morning. I have somehow become afraid of not telling her this. I do not know what I think is going to happen if I do not. Story 48. A lot of superstitions are common sense. Do not walk under a ladder, presumably because a workman may drop something on you. Do not open an umbrella indoors because water will fly everywhere, assuming you have just come in from a storm. Do not pass people on the stairs because stairs can be dangerous. Do not put shoes on the table because it is disgusting. Story 49. Before I put my car into drive, I lightly tap each foot pedal. Gas then brake. When I learned to drive, I was terrified I would get them mixed up somehow and cause an accident. But now it is tradition. Tap, tap. Okay, now I can drive. Story 50. Eating black-eyed peas on New Year's Day brings good luck. Never do laundry on New Year's Day. It means you will be washing a corpse that year. I throw salt over my shoulder if I spill it. Story 51. I have a few. I kind of do and kind of do not believe in them, but I take great pleasure in playing along with them. I do not believe in Christianity, but I have found echoes of many of the devil's superstitions in other folklore. When I spill salt, I toss a pinch with my right hand over my left shoulder as an offering to the fairies. When a mirror breaks, a small shard must be buried, or it brings bad luck. I always spill a little of my coffee in the morning while getting ready for important events to get the day's trouble out of the way. I talk to my plants and the bees in my garden. I hope when I die someone tells my garden I am gone. I make wishes on the first star I notice at night, on every shooting star I see, on every candle I put out, and on double or triple numbers on clocks, especially triples. Cats, horseshoes, rainbows, pennies, and kisses are good luck. Giving someone a knife without exchanging money cuts your relationship short. Hoppin' John is required on New Year's Day. Do not wash your hair or sweep your house on New Year's either. When you sweep and clean your home, sweep towards the door and clean doors and windows last. When you move, leave the broom and sprinkle a tiny bit of salt across or beside your new windowsills and door thresholds to keep the good energies in and the bad out. Story 52. I heard these from my Irish grandmother. A dark thread on your clothes means you are going to get a letter with bad news, and a light thread means good news. A knife, fork, or spoon dropped means you will get a visit from a man, a woman, or a child, respectively. Open the door on New Year's Day to let out the bad and let in the good. I count crows lifting off a tree. 1 for sadness, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy. 3 is an important number to me, so I pay attention to patterns of 3. Story 53. I make homemade chicken wings before big storms. It started as a joke, but the storms have missed us every single time since I began doing this. Also, wing night. Story 54. Anytime I pass under a traffic light and it turns yellow, I kiss the palm of my hand and press it to the roof of my car. When I was a kid, my dad told me this would give me good luck for the rest of the day, and I still do it at 32 as a driver or a passenger. I don't have any stories of exceptional luck from it, but it brightens my mood and makes me think of my dad. My husband has picked up the habit too, and I find it really sweet. Story 55. I am Greek and we have the tradition of the evil eye. Someone can give you the evil eye if they envy you, admire you, or give you nice compliments. So I make sure I have a blue eye or a blue bead hanging from my car or on my baby's stroller to protect them from the evil eye. Also, if you are feeling a bit down, you can call someone who knows how to perform the Zematiasma ritual to lift the evil eye curse from you. I sometimes call my mother and ask her to do that for me. To an extent, I find it nice to ask for the help of someone older to make you feel better. It is a way of involving them in your life and making them feel useful. Also, I like the tradition. Story 56. You have to say hi to single magpies and wish their partners well. I also wish them a good day no matter how many I see in a group. Regarding magpies, I feel they guide how something on my mind will go. I would not make investments based on bird scavenger density, but a little thought about magpies when I am thinking about something is nice. Story 57. If your friend or anyone you know wakes you up late at night asking to go out for any reason, do not go out and just go back to sleep. My mother told me a story about how she had a friend who was woken up around midnight by his friends asking if he wanted to join them at an outdoor party one of their neighbors was hosting. The friend was about to say yes, but remembered when his father told him not to go out when woken up unexpectedly. He declined the offer and went back to bed. It turned out he was right not to go because a gang showed up at the party that night and shot and killed multiple people, including one of his friends. Story 58. I have a few. I have a bunch of squashed pennies that have been embossed with the image of where I got them. Every time there is a penny machine, I get a new one to add to my collection. I can't spend them, but I like the idea of always having money in my purse, so it means I will never have nothing. I also catch the dandelion fluff when it flies so that I can make a wish. If the fluff lands and makes another flower, my wish will come true. I don't believe any of this, but we all have to have some superstition in our lives. Keeps things magical. Story 59. I hold my breath when driving past cemeteries and lift my legs when driving over train tracks, except when I am feeling a little depressed. Story 60. My siblings do the elf on the shelf tradition. I do not have enough patience, and my daughter thinks the elves are naughty. On the last day of November every year, we pour salt across our doorway to prevent elf infestation. I have watched too much Supernatural, and my daughter has seen her cousins freak out over the naughty elves too many times. Story 61. I've always had a cat, and when I was little, I really wanted to wake up as a cat one day. I figured that the main difference between the cat and me was that her nose was always wet. So I would boop her nose, then my own, to make my nose wet like hers. I would go to sleep hoping I would wake up as a cat the next morning. I still do this with my current cat and secretly wish I could become a cat. Story 62. After reading a few comments, I have to admit that mine is not nearly as heavy as theirs. But anytime I am talking about possible events or mentioning how well things are going, I always knock on wood. For protection, seek out something made of actual wood to prevent Murphy's Law from striking again. Story 63. During cold and flu season, when someone asks if everyone in our family, which includes many children, is healthy, I answer, for the moment. Because obviously, when I answer yes, someone immediately gets sick again. It is science, people. Story 64. A superstition that I follow without giving it much thought is knocking on wood. Every time I say something nice or something I hope does not happen, I reach for wood and knock 2 or 3 times, as if that will magically prevent the opposite from happening. Story 65. Deaths come in threes. 2 weeks ago, 2 good friends lost pets to old age. Then I lost my cat to liver cancer a few days later. This applies to famous people, too. Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan passed away one after the other. I am expecting a third imminently. Story 66. My mother, who worked in a community hospital with an emergency room, swears that full moons brought in the strangest cases and that, without fail, someone would mention a full moon every time it happened. Story 67. Since I was about 10 years old, when blowing out my birthday candles, I always wish that everyone I love will be happy. Story 68. I will knock on wood when someone says something like, "It cannot get any worse." It can. It always can. Story 69. The universe will challenge you when it can. Want it to rain? Leave your car windows down and put your jacket or nice sweater out under the sky. Story 70. Wow! So many. Walking over 2 drains is good luck. 3 or more drains is bad luck. If you accidentally walk over 3 or more, saying bread and butter cancels out any bad luck. Salute magpies. As a kid, I once skipped the bottom step of the stairs and decided that was lucky, so I do it every time now. No umbrellas above your head indoors. Making a wish at 11:11. I could go on. Story 71. I always throw a little salt I may have left over from seasoning something over my right shoulder. I don't know, it has always felt like the right thing to do. I also knock on wood a lot. Story 72. Knock on wood for sure. Talking nicely to electronics that are not working well in hopes they just need some positive affirmation. Story 73. I believe in karma. If you do a bad deed, you will pay for it twice as much later. I never open an umbrella inside the house. Story 74. In Spain and other Spanish-speaking cultures, there is a small ritual for finding lost items. People invoke Saint Cucufato and tie a knot in a handkerchief, rope, or piece of fabric while reciting these words out loud. San Cucufato, los huevos te ato, hasta que no lo encuentres, no te los desato. This translates to, Saint Cucufato, I'm tying your balls. Until you find it, I won't untie them. It is said to work every single time. Story 75. Sneezing immediately before doing anything is bad luck. If there is a second sneeze or I drink water, I have successfully avoided the bad luck. For example, if I am heading out and I sneeze near the main door, I wait for a second sneeze or go back in to drink water. Story 76. Step on a crack, break your mother's back. I never did when I could avoid it. I still do not. She has been dead for more than 6 years. Story 77. Salt over the shoulder, wishing on an eyelash or shooting star, knock on wood. I always tell my mother I love her before she goes somewhere because my anxiety says the one time I do not, something bad will happen. Story 78. Right sock, right shoe, left shoe. Doing it any other way will cause immense and irreversible bad luck for the entire day. Story 79. When saying goodbye to close family members and friends, I always say, love you, safe travels. For everyone else, because it is a crazy world out there, safe travels. Story 80. Full moons bring out the crazies. You never say the queen word, the sheriff word, or the doctor word. Saying a frequent caller's name will summon them. Whatever you do, do not challenge the emergency medical services gods. They will turn your end of shift into chaos. Story 81. I eat the entire fortune cookie before reading the fortune. I chew and swallow it before I take the first peek. Story 82. When saying goodbye, I will absolutely not watch someone walk or drive away until they are out of sight. I need to turn my back before that happens. Story 83. I do not look outside at night, and no one in my family whistles at night either. We have had a few strange experiences and heard some stories from native friends that made us decide it is better to keep the windows closed at night and not whistle. Story 84. I pick up nails, screws, or anything that can puncture a tire if I see it when I am crossing the street, because if I do not, I think that karma will get me and put one in my car tire's path for not being a good person. Story 85. No clue where it came from, but my family has a superstition that you do not bring lilies inside because they are funeral flowers and bringing them in invites death. My theory is that it is because my family has always had cats, at least back to the 1800s as far as I know, and lilies are toxic to them. I do not bring lilies indoors or give them to friends, regardless of whether there are cats present. Rosemary and garlic under the pillow or bed prevent bad dreams. Again, I think this is rooted in something, since both are also traditional for keeping bugs away, so it may have come from that. I still put rosemary and garlic under my pillow if I have been having bad sleep. Story 86. I'm 51. My beloved dog, Canada, passed away just over 20 years ago. I still sometimes talk to Canada. For example, if I'm falling asleep, wondering if there is an afterlife and if she can somehow hear me. Story 87. My long-deceased grandmother was oddly not obsessed with Italian superstitions, with one exception. She followed a very mild rule. Always put your right shoe, boot, or slipper on first to ensure good luck that day. Decades later, I still catch myself recalling this and will go to the extent of changing shoes to put the right one on first. I am still well and healthy, so there must be something to this. Story 88. I am not overly religious. I do not attend church and never talk about religion, but for the last 30 years, if someone uses the Lord's name in vain, even if they say, "Oh my God," I immediately ask God for forgiveness in my head. It has become a bit of a superstition for me. Story 89. I don't step on any type of logos that are on the floor. This comes from the tradition of not stepping on the school logo in the varsity locker room. Anyone who stepped on a logo would get mobbed and punished for 10 seconds. Traditions. Story 90. Believing people are good and have my best interests in mind. Reality has proven otherwise. There is no such thing as good or evil. People are very in tune with their own needs and wants and only think about you when they need something. Story 91. I still have the same wallet that I bought 20 years ago at H&M as a teenager. It is absolutely disgusting and slowly falling apart, but part of me feels that this wallet is my good luck charm, as I have never come into financial trouble and have always been better at managing my money than my peers, even if I was making less than them. I do not even physically use my wallet much, but just having it feels like it is symbolically keeping my finances healthy and balanced. The day it becomes too broken to be usable, I will feel like I am losing my financial security. Story 92. Take all my holiday decorations down before the new year. My mother always said that it was bad luck to enter a new year with decorations still up. It is silly, but I like being finished with Christmas decorations before January. Story 93. I am not superstitious, but I will not do anything on any Friday the 13th. I will not work, will not speak with anyone, and will not leave the apartment. After 4 negative life-changing events that all happened on Friday the 13th, I just do not anymore. Call me crazy or call it just an extra long weekend once or twice a year. I do not care. Story 94. Never walk under a ladder, but part of that is just because I think the ladder will randomly collapse onto me. Story 95. Well, it is only my personal superstition. I refuse to go out on the 4th other than the 4th of July, because of the number 4 being associated with death and bad things happening to me. Every time I have ridden in a car on the 4th after 1998, something bad has occurred. Story 96. Going out the same door you came in. Saying rabbit rabbit on the 1st of the month before you speak to anyone else. Story 97. Holding my breath in a tunnel for a wish. I have been doing it since I was a child and have never stopped. I do not even remember where I learned it. Story 98. I won't drive through a cemetery with an infant. There is a belief that unrest souls seek untainted souls, such as a baby, to possess. I am not going to risk a baby's life to find that out. Story 99. Ruminating over negative thoughts, playing scenes in your head of worst-case scenarios, etc. I don't want to jinx or materialize unthinkable events. Imagine you are worried about something and your mind keeps throwing negative thoughts at you. You focus on it, worry, and obsess over it. Then something similar happens. I couldn't deal with it. I would never get over it. Never. Because I would convince myself, I made that happen. What if it was not a manifestation, just chance, 100% scientifically and metaphysically? You wouldn't have any way to know or even start healing because there would be no one with the knowledge, information, or therapy to give you closure. It's my fault and no one can help me. It's the worst possible existence. No, I haven't imagined a scenario I'm sparing you from. I have trained my mind not to go there. But we all know what I'm saying. Story 100. I lift my feet going over a railroad track and scratch the roof of the car with my fingers when I run through a yellow light. My friends and I did these in high school, and they are supposed to bring good luck. I am still doing both out of habit many years later. Story 101. If I make a caustic remark about someone's driving ability, I won't play the lottery that night because the universe does not reward intolerance of the less fortunate. 26 years and counting. Story 102. Every first of the month, I try to say white rabbit first for luck. I have a St. Louis Cardinals specific one. I can't wear a shirt that bears the name of Stan the Man Musial because every time I wear it on a game day, the St. Louis Cardinals lose. Story 103. In my family, we feed anyone who even vaguely hints at being hungry, no matter the time or circumstances. My mom had a cousin who died around 10 years old. He came in to tell his mom he was hungry. She told him that dinner was in about an hour and to wait. Right after, he went down the road to play with a neighbor's child and was hit by a car and killed. Everyone of my mom's generation and above vividly remembers the mother sobbing inconsolably at the funeral about how the last thing she did as a mother was send her baby off to die hungry. Story 104. I buried a statue of St. Joseph before listing my parents' rural Minnesota home in early winter. At the beginning of the housing bubble burst. They had multiple offers in February, when nothing ever moves. They actually used my listing in the following State Board of Realtors meeting as a how-to example. But I did not tell them about St. Joseph. Since then, I have done it 7 times and every time it worked. Story 105. Never say, I haven't been sick since You will be down with the stomach flu in 3 days. Oh yeah, my birthday is next week. I'm super pumped. Oh, happy birthday. No, 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 don't. I need this. Talking about how something is going well so far and knocking on wood. Can't jinx it. I do this little ritual right before I go on stage to release my anxious energy. Shake each limb for a count of 8, then 7, then 6, all the way to 1 in this order. Right hand, right foot. Wishing on dandelions, birthday candles, and the North Star. Story 106. I tap on the table before leaving my house. I have been doing it for so long. I do not even remember when I started. Now I am too invested or scared to skip it. Story 107. Tossing salt over the shoulder if it spills. Will not sing before breakfast. Breakfast can be anything that is not just water. Story 108. I always say hello to the fairies at the ferry bridge. Story 109. Not believing these anymore but used to. When I was a child, I used to believe that keeping a peacock feather inside a book and keeping it closed would ensure the peacock feather gives birth to another small peacock feather. When I was a teenager, I used to believe that shaving the mustache frequently makes it grow faster and denser. Story 110. Superstition. The strange one. If I find money, I never keep it. I always give it away. The superstition started when I found some money and was so happy that I forgot my house keys. I got locked out for a long time. I learned at that time and on other occasions that excessive happiness can be dangerous. Story 111. I still hold my breath when I drive past a cemetery. It is an old, random superstition I heard as a child, something about not letting spirits in. I do not even fully believe in it, but I catch myself doing it every time. Story 112. If I do not set my computer volume to a whole number divisible by 5 or 2, my computer will explode and kill me. Story 113. Anytime I do a 50-50 at a sporting event, I rub it on somebody's head. Used to be my dad, now it's my child. For luck. Story 114. Fairy rings and the fae. Do not mess with them. I know it sounds silly, but we have been getting a lot of rain lately, and mushrooms have been appearing. I went out to my truck to go to work, and there was a big circle of mushrooms directly beside my truck door. Keep in mind, I am a 50-year-old woman with overweight. The leap I made into the truck to avoid that circle was impressive, even to me. Story 115. I tell anyone leaving my house to be careful or drive safely. My mother always did this when I was younger, so now I do it too. Story 116. I usually believe in many superstitions, traditions, and rituals, whether Chinese or Filipino sayings. Every action has a meaning. One day, I had a meeting with my foreign boss and asked if he believed in things like that. He said he did not have any, and yet he is successful and happy. Now I am confused whether I should still believe or just stop. Story 117. Salt over the left shoulder. It is a waste of salt for something I do not believe, but it is a reflex by this point. Story 118. I cross myself when an ambulance drives past. I am not even religious. It is a habit I picked up from my friend, who is a monk. Some part of me thinks, just in case. Story 119. Not telling people when something good is going to happen in my life, like going somewhere fun, such as a theme park. If I tell people, it will be cancelled, and then I have to tell them all that it was cancelled. Story 120. I am somewhat triskaidekaphobic. I really do not like the number 13. I know there is no difference between it and any other number, and I understand that superstition is just nonsense. I do not believe in a deity or demon. Of course, I know that 13 will not bring me bad luck or any other misfortune. I even took my ordinary level mathematics exam on Friday the 13th and received an A. It is completely irrational, but I avoid the number as often as possible. I have no idea why. Story 121. In golf, I fix ball marks and divots and rake bunkers extra smooth in exchange for good golf karma. Works 60% of the time, every time. Story 122. It is much better. It is a different type of pickling brine than what is used with pickled vegetable eggs. It is lighter with a slight touch of sweetness. It is a nice complement to the light fish flavor. Story 123. Going through a yellow light, I tap the ceiling of the car and then touch my heart. My dad did it, my friends did it. I am 90% sure it is a charm to avoid being pulled over. Story 124. In the Army, I always touched the aircraft before starting the pre-flight checks and getting into the cockpit. I would run my hand along its side. I no longer fly, but I still do this from time to time on my car or truck. At every air show I attend, I subconsciously run my hand along the side of the aircraft. Feels like a way to say hello. Also, I do not walk on graves. I walk between the graves and directly behind the headstone. You do not walk on the dead. Story 125. I strongly believe any charity you do, you receive more in return than what you actually gave at some point. Story 126. In my family, we believe that a cardinal is a visiting ancestor. I always thought it was sweet, but never paid much attention as a kid. Both of my grandmothers passed away last year, and I have been seeing cardinals ever since. At the beach, where they have never been before, but we frequently vacation in the summer. Down south at my sister's house, again where they are not supposed to be. Now there is literally a nest in the tree in her front yard. I seem to always find cardinals when I am sad or worried. They appear in a bush or a tree right next to where I am sitting, and then they flit away. It is definitely visits from Grandma. Story 127. I'm skeptical about a lot of things, but one thing I have never been able to explain is the cardinal effect I have seen. I almost never see them until a day I am going through a rough patch. It only started after my grandmother died, and a second began appearing after my grandfather died too. Part of me hopes that their spirits are watching over me in the form of the birds. I always try to keep my eyes open for them. Story 128. I always avoid starting something new on a Saturday because of the old superstition. It just feels safer that way. Story 129. I don't believe in either of these, but I still do them out of habit since I grew up with them. Knocking on wood is done so you don't jinx yourself. If someone opens a pocket knife, that person has to close it. So, if someone hands you their open pocket knife, you use it and then hand it back so they can close it. Story 130. I once heard that if you get stomach cramps while walking fast, you can fix it by crouching and spitting under a rock. Someone told me it is a Native American trick. I do not know, man, it just works. Story 131. I am the biggest skeptic in the world, not religious, and do not believe in anything supernatural at all. Yet I never swear on anyone's life, for example. I swear on my mother's life that this and that. Story 132. I used to be a sailor, and I don't like saying things like, we won't be busy, or this thing won't break. I also knock on wood a lot. Additionally, I won't disturb an albatross if I see one. I follow any sea superstitions, even when living life on land. My wife occasionally says, the kids will go down easy tonight. And I'm like, what are you doing? Saying things like that usually means they won't go down easy, which happens 9 times out of 10. Saying, I hope they go down easy is different and acceptable. Story 133. I make it a habit not to say goodbye to people I care about, whether physically, digitally, or over the phone. It is always, I will see you later or see you soon. The last person I cared about, I made the mistake of saying goodbye to died, so that kind of cemented it in my mind. Story 134. One thing I have always done, usually while driving, is whenever I see a cross or wreath or something next to the street where someone has died, I always do a quick bow of my head and close my eyes. I also do it at graveyards. It is a sign of respect for the dead and to keep me safe while driving. I have never heard or seen anyone else do this. It is just something I started doing when I began driving. Story 135. Before opening a can of beer, I always slap it twice with my thumb. I think the idea is that it is supposed to help stop the can from fizzing over, although I am not sure there is any evidence that it actually works. I do not even think about doing it though. It is completely baked into my subconscious now. Every beer I drink has the top slapped twice. Story 136. Buying lottery tickets on the 12th. 12 seems to be my number that follows me. I was born in December. My daughter had twins on December 12th. I always see the number 1212 on things like clocks, register receipts, and so on. Story 137. I drink 9 sips whenever I have the hiccups. My grandfather told me it was a trick to reset your diaphragm and cure hiccups. I swear it works, but I have no idea if the diaphragm part is true. Story 138. I pick up pennies that are heads up, and if they are tails up, I flip them over. I blame this habit on one Jennifer Lopez movie. Story 139. When you go over a train track in your car, lift your legs slightly, close your eyes, and make a wish. It is something my mother would do and still does too. Story 140. I do not live a very Christian life, but I was raised Catholic and still make the sign of the cross every now and then when I need some divine help, either when trouble arrives or when good things happen, to give thanks. I do not promote any religion, nor do I approve of what many religious people do, but I believe that religion can help people find meaning and direction in their lives. I quietly tolerate it and make the sign of the cross for those who need to know that religion is not as persecuted as some people try to make it seem. Story 141. Biting anything made of wood after dreaming about teeth or a tooth falling out means that someone you know or are close to will die. Twice is enough. Story 142. I still acknowledge and say good morning to people who walk into my workplace, hoping someone will say hello back instead of just walking faster. It is a rare moment when it happens, but it easily makes the week better. Story 143. Gifting someone a purse or wallet that does not have any money in it will bring them bad luck financially. Even a few pennies are okay, but it cannot be empty. My grandmother did this my whole life and it stuck. Now I even make sure that the purses in my closet have some loose change to keep stray bad luck away. Story 144. I never let my purse touch the floor. My grandmother and mother taught me that I would lose money if my purse touched the floor. Maybe it is a coincidence, but every time my purse touched the floor, I had some unexpected costs, such as car repairs. Story 145. Filipino-American here. Rather than using a measuring cup for cooking rice, I simply throw in as much as I want and use my middle finger to measure how much water to add. I honestly believe that doing this gives the rice the right texture where it is neither soggy nor undercooked. Story 146. My mother is highly superstitious and has been since I was a kid. To this day, I will never put shoes on a table, even new ones in a box. Seeing black cats still gives me pause. I always crush eggshells before throwing them away. I am reluctant to go near a ladybug for fear of accidentally killing it. I do not truly believe in any of it, of course. At this point, it is just so ingrained that I cannot help but feel wrong if I do these things. Story 147. I am in the infantry. You do not say the word that describes water from the sky unless you want it to happen. Story 148. It's a silly little thing, but I have this Bat Boy fake Batman voodoo doll. I got in New Orleans shortly before I got my license on my rearview mirror. That was 7 years ago, and my first car just went to the junkyard a few days ago. It really should have died within the first 2 years, and there have been many times I was bracing myself to get hit, but it never happened. I'm not superstitious, religious, or spiritual, but that boy stays in my car. Story 149. I say a little prayer when I am in a vehicle and when someone leaves or enters the vehicle during the ride. Story 150. Never split the poles if you are walking with someone. If you do, one of you must retrace your steps and walk the same way your friend or partner did to untangle the thread that keeps you connected. Could cause strain in the future, so it is best to get it untangled early. Story 151. Rabbit rabbit for good luck is the first thing you say at the beginning of every month because if you do not say it, horrible very bad things will happen. Story 152. I make sure all my paper money is facing the same way, organized by amount and folded neatly. If you don't respect money and treat it well, it won't come to you. I also pray to Saint Anthony when I can't find something. I'm an atheist, but it almost always works for things I am sure are here somewhere. Story 153. Was told when I was a child that the only way to kill a tick is by burning it. So yes, I burned a lot of ticks while growing up. I stopped doing that a couple of years ago, but still. Story 154. I don't do cheers with people who do it with water. My father told me as a child that it was bad luck, and I just went along with it. Story 155. Motorcyclist here. Guardian bells, also known as gremlin bells, keep the gremlins and goblins from attacking your bike. They protect you from mechanical issues and misfortune. Superstition? Absolutely. Do I have guardian bells for my bike? You bet I do. Story 156. You know those little buttons on fast food drink lids that get pushed in to indicate what kind of soda is in the cup? Every time I get a cup with those lids, I push all the buttons in. Otherwise, something bad might happen. I do not know what, but I will never find out because all the buttons get pushed in every time. Story 157. My partner of more than 40 years, who was sewing even before her first home economics class in junior high school, still refuses to start a project on a Friday. She is the third generation of her family to follow this rule. Get the pattern out and pin a few pieces to the fabric on Thursday night if you have to, but never start on Friday. Story 158. If a black cat crosses my path, I will nod in acknowledgement at the cat and thank them for whatever good luck they just brought me. Story 159. Started saying it since seeing this cartoon a long time ago. Story 160. Knock on wood every time you say something that could be a jinx. It is not that I believe it, but why invite bad karma? At this point, it is always better to be safe than sorry. Story 161. If the natives say a volcano is off limits to outsiders because of evil spirits, I will heed their warnings. There is a good chance that the evil spirits are a volcanic hazard they do not have a better term to describe. Story 162. I make the same wish at 12:34 every time I catch it. It is more of a focal point than a magical thing, but as much as I mentally know it means nothing, I still do it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.